Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Soebel Sakina. You can call me Sakina. I'm the sixth semester of English Education Department. In this occasion, I would like to do my presentation about language description. It's from the subject is from Mr. Karyadi. It's ESP. Okay, is making a video about vocabulary teaching as vocational haiku, and I take this material about language description. So now, what is language description? Language description is the way in which the language system broken down and described for the purpose. Okay, and then do you know the importance of language description in applied linguistics has sometimes been questioned? Example by with Down Sound, 1979 to 1980, because of a perception that the theoretical insights of description linguistics were different from the practical needs of language pedagogy. Description of language are often divided into a number of categories, and each of these categories has its own principal concept and object of study. So, and then what is the classification? Okay, the classification of language description has a classical or traditional grammar, and then structural linguistic, transformational grammar, linguistic variations and register analysis, functional or national syllables, and then discourse or rhetorical analysis. Well, first is classical or traditional grammar. Description of English and other languages were based on the grammars of the classical languages, Greek and Latin. This description were based on an analysis of the role played by each word in the sentence. Languages were described in this way because the classical language were caste-based language where the grammatical function of each word in the sentence was made of apparent by the use of appropriate inflection. The form of a word would change according to whether it was a subject, object, indirect object, and so on. Well, and the second one is structural linguistic. The structure or slot and filler form language description will be familiar to most language teachers as a result of the enormous influence it has had on language teaching since the Second World War. In a structural description, the grammar of language is described in terms of syntagmatic structures which carry the fundamental proportions, statement, interrogative, negative, imperative, and nation, time, number, gender, and etc. Well, the third one is transformational generative grammar. Some scales are good in synthetic structure. The structural description was superficial because it only described the surface structure of the language and thus could not explain relationship of meaning which were quite clearly there, but which were not realized in the surface structure. In the early stages of its development, ESP, but most emphasis on describing the performance needed for communication in the target situation and pay little attention to the content underlining it. Well, and then the fourth is language variations and register analysis. The concept of language variation gave rise to the type of ESP which was based on register analysis. If language varies according to text, it was argued then it should be possible to identify the kind of language associated with a specific context, such as an area of knowledge, legal English, social English, medical English, or business English. And the fifth is functional or notional grammar. Functional or notional grammar functions are concerned with social behavior and represent the intention of the speaker or writing. Example, advising, warning, threatening, describing function. equals by structure plus context notion reflects the ways in which the human being mind thinks. Well, so the sixth is discourse analysis. Discourse analysis it emphasizes on how meaning is generated between sentences. The context is important in creating meaning. The change of meaning is influenced by social linguistic context. Who is speaking to whom and why? The meaning changes according to the relationship between the participant in the dialogue and according to their reason for speaking. So the conclusion of this presentation language description is language the way in which the language system broken down and described for the purpose of learning. In the structural description, the grammar of the language is described in terms of syntagmatic structures which carry the fundamental proportions, statement, interrogative, negative, imperative, and etc. And thank you so much for listening my presentation. So, and the last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.